There is a strange pattern that shows up again and again in the lives of highly intelligent people. Somewhere along the way, quietly and without any dramatic announcement, they start disappearing. Not physically in most cases, but socially. The group chats stop getting replies. The invitations start getting declined. The phone calls become shorter and less frequent. Friends start saying things like, "He used to be so much fun," or "She used to always be around. What happened to her?" Nothing happened in the sense of a single event. What happened is a slow and deliberate withdrawal, and if you look closely, it almost always has the same set of causes behind it. The first reason is that highly intelligent people get bored faster than most people realize is possible. Ordinary conversation, the kind that fills most social gatherings, tends to circle around the same handful of topics. Weather, gossip, complaints about work, updates about people who are not even in the room. For someone whose mind is constantly generating questions, connections, and ideas, this kind of talk feels like static. It is not that they think they are better than anyone. It is that their brain is wired to crave depth, and shallow conversation, repeated often enough, starts to feel like a small kind of suffocation. So they stop showing up, not out of arrogance, but out of self-preservation. The second reason is disappointment. Highly intelligent people tend to see patterns very clearly, including patterns in people. They notice when someone says one thing and does another. They notice when a friendship is really just convenience. They notice when a group of people claims to care but disappears the moment things get difficult. Most people either do not notice these patterns or choose to ignore them because ignoring them is more comfortable. Intelligent people often cannot unsee what they have seen. Once they recognize a pattern of shallowness or unreliability, trust erodes quickly, and it becomes very hard to fake enthusiasm for relationships that no longer feel real to them. The third reason is emotional and mental exhaustion. Being highly intelligent does not just mean being good at solving problems. It usually comes with a heightened sensitivity to the emotional undercurrents in a room. Intelligent people often pick up on tension, insincerity, and hidden agendas that other people miss entirely. Processing all of this constantly is tiring. Add to that the mental habit of overthinking almost everything, replaying conversations, analyzing intentions, questioning their own words after the fact, and socializing becomes something that drains rather than energizes. After enough draining interactions, withdrawal starts to feel like the only way to recover. The fourth reason is a growing comfort with solitude. Most people are taught directly or indirectly that being alone is something to avoid, a sign of loneliness or failure. Highly intelligent people often discover the opposite. Alone, they can think without interruption. They can read, create, build, and reflect without having to manage someone else's expectations or perform a version of themselves for approval. Solitude starts to feel less like isolation and more like freedom. Once someone tastes that kind of mental freedom, going back to noisy, energy-consuming social obligations starts to feel like a step backward rather than forward. The fifth reason is that intelligent people often feel misunderstood. And after years of feeling misunderstood, many of them simply stop trying to be understood. When you constantly have to simplify your thoughts, water down your opinions, or avoid certain topics because they make others uncomfortable or defensive, you start to feel like you are performing a smaller version of yourself just to fit in. Over time, this becomes exhausting. Rather than continue editing themselves down for the comfort of a group, many intelligent people quietly step back and choose smaller, deeper connections, or sometimes almost no connections at all. The sixth reason is that intelligence often comes with high standards, not just for other people, but for what a relationship or friendship should actually look like. Many people settle for surface-level connections because surface level is easy and requires little effort. Highly intelligent people frequently find this unsatisfying. They want conversations that go somewhere. They want honesty even when it is uncomfortable. They want people who can sit with silence without needing to fill it with noise. When they cannot find that, they would rather have no connection at all than a hollow one. This is often mistaken for arrogance or coldness, when really it is closer to a refusal to settle. The seventh reason is that intelligent people tend to notice, very early, when a relationship has become one-sided. They notice when they are the ones always reaching out, always remembering birthdays, always initiating plans, while receiving very little in return. Most people will continue this imbalance for years out of guilt or habit. Intelligent people are often quicker to recognize the pattern and quicker to stop investing in it. This is not cruelty. It is simply an unwillingness to keep pouring effort into something that clearly is not being reciprocated. The eighth reason is related to how intelligent people handle pain and disappointment. Many of them have been hurt, betrayed, or let down by people they trusted deeply, sometimes more than once. Rather than becoming bitter and vocal about it, many quietly build walls. They do not announce their withdrawal. They do not send dramatic messages explaining why they are pulling away. They simply become harder to reach, one small step at a time, until one day the people around them realize they have not truly spoken in months. This quiet retreat is often a form of self-protection rather than punishment. The ninth reason is a shift in priorities. As intelligent people mature, many of them become deeply focused on projects, goals, learning, or personal growth. Time starts to feel more valuable and more limited than it once did. Every hour spent in a conversation that goes nowhere, or at an event that feels obligatory rather than meaningful, starts to feel like an hour taken away from something that actually matters to them. This is not about disliking people. It is about a growing awareness that time is the one resource that cannot be replaced, and they become more protective of how they spend it. The 10th reason, and perhaps the most important one, is authenticity. Highly intelligent people often reach a point where they refuse to keep pretending. They stop pretending to enjoy things they do not enjoy. They stop pretending to agree with opinions they find shallow or wrong. They stop pretending that surface-level friendliness is the same thing as real connection. This refusal to pretend naturally filters out a large number of relationships that were built on performance rather than authenticity. What remains afterward is smaller, but far more real. It is worth saying clearly that this withdrawal is not the same as depression, and it is not the same as hating people. Many highly intelligent people who have pulled back from wide social circles report feeling calmer, clearer, and more at peace than they did when they were constantly surrounded by people. What looks like disappearing from the outside is often on the inside closer to arriving somewhere, arriving at a life that finally matches their internal world, one with fewer people but deeper connections, less noise but more meaning, less performance and more honesty. If you have noticed a highly intelligent person in your life slowly stepping back, it is worth resisting the urge to take it personally or to assume the worst about them. In many cases, the door has not closed completely. What they are usually looking for is not less contact, but more meaningful contact. A genuine conversation instead of small talk, a real question instead of a routine check-in, consistency instead of convenience. Give them that, and you may find they show up again, not because they were forced to, but because for the first time in a while, showing up finally feels worth it. And if you recognize yourself in any of this, know that stepping back from shallow connections is not a flaw. It is often a sign of growing self-awareness and self-respect. The goal was never to disappear from everyone. The goal was to stop disappearing from yourself in order to be present for people who never truly saw you in the